Here we are at the start line. It's a great start. It's about 150 feet wide at this point. With just 40 runners, everybody has a lot of room. Even though they have a lot of room, it's a little bit uphill, and some people want to get out really fast. In fact, just 60 yards to the top of that first hill, and you'll see always in the races, there's going to be a couple kids that really go out hard, want to get to that top hill, establish their position right off the bat. First part of the course, after you come over the hill at about a quarter mile, you come into this eucalyptus grove. Beautiful wood chips on the ground here. Quarter mile where we go down and then we come out right in the same place here. Now the first time through, the crowd is pretty big and you got to make sure you're a little bit out of the way because it gets a little bit dusty here. Even with just 40 runners, it's a pretty good pack coming through here. But the second time through is the key. We come down here, we've seen some moves made here over the last couple of years. Most of those moves have been made here. They found out it might be a little bit too early because when you go around that dog loop and come back, we've got a little bit of an uphill heading back here. A lot of people get caught. So if you're going to make a move this early, you really got to be able to handle a long, hard drive to the finish. Most people at this point, they're trying to judge where everybody else is and make sure they're in a good position to make a move a little bit later. But this is first time through about a quarter mile, second time through about a mile and a half into the race right here. As we come around this turn here, just after a half mile on the first time through, just after the 2 mile mark on the second time through. Now we have 4 really sharp turns here in about 150 yards. First time through, everybody's excited. Everybody hangs in that group pretty much here. Second time through, though, people are really starting to position themselves here. If you don't hang right with the leaders right here, you could lose them very quickly as they make these sharp turns. And if you're getting ready for a big move, this is where people start to really align themselves, start to figure out where they're going to be. So we're at about 2 miles into the course, and things are really starting to heat up at this point. We now move over to the other half of the course and we come to a downhill section, not a real steep downhill, kind of a gradual downhill. A little valley here of about a half mile of all grass. What happens here during the first part of the course, during about 3/4 of a mile, everybody's still pretty much in position. The pack's still pretty strong. We haven't even hit the mile mark of the first big hill. The second time through, though, what we've seen lately here is this is where big moves happen. As we come through the second part of the course, we're just about 2¼ miles. We've got the big hill to go for the second time, and we have seen a lot of people make big moves here. So the leaders of the pack right here, this is where you've got to expect somebody either to be really making the move to try to pull away, and if you're not trying to pull away, you're making sure you're close to them because you can't afford to lose any ground to anybody at this part of the course. At a mile and a half into the race, we come right back where we started. We are on that little upslope we were at the start of the race. Mile and a half in, the crowd is just huge at this point, and everybody's screaming and yelling, and there's still a pack. It may be 4 or 5, it may be 10 or 15, but I'll tell you one thing, the winner of the race is going to be in that pack when you come by the mile and a half, and you're not in that group. There's no way you're going to pass 10 of the best runners in the country over that last mile and a half. So if you want to have a shot at winning at a mile and a half, you got to be right up front. This part here we come by twice. The second time through, we're just over a little bit over 2 miles, and this is a crucial part of the course. 2 mile mark and then 4 very quick turns. The pack starts to separate, it starts to thin out a little bit, and we hit right here and the race really takes off because from right here we've got about a half mile of downhill, and over the last couple years especially, this is where the big moves have been made. So when we make those quick turns, you've got to stay near the lead. If not, then when the leader takes off, you're not going to be close enough to be ready to follow, or if you're the person who wants to make that big move, you want to separate yourself a little bit over these quick turns. Then when you hit this spot, you've got to fly, because when you get to that big hill, that's where the race has already been decided who's going to be in that top 3 or 4, and this is where it's been happening the last couple of years on this downhill, right after the 2 mile mark. We get to the big hill. Now the first time through, just about 20 yards behind me, that's the first mile mark on the course. Then they approach the hill. Very steep for about 100 yards. We make a right turn, and then we kind of go back and forth till we get about another 200 yards till we get to the top of this hill, and they've got to do it twice. Now, the first time through, a lot of good action on things, start to spread out a little bit. Second time through, boy, this is where the action really happens here. People have made their move and have committed themselves, have just got to give it everything they've got to get to the top of this hill. Those who are still trying to catch, this is the place you can really make up ground, because this is a really tough hill, and you've got to do it twice. We're halfway up the hill right here. As you can see, that's the steep part right there, the dirt, and that's where it ends. You're not up the hill yet, though. As this point here, you're onto the grass, and you follow the grass all the way along the edge as you start to move to the top of the hill. It's a long way. It's a pretty long hill when you consider how far you came from the mile mark to get here. All the way up to the very top, make a sharp left turn, and then you're flying down Upas. First time we come through here, a lot of kids have made the mistake of not respecting this hill enough. They put a lot of energy going up here, and they seem to open up a little gap, but then they find out, boy, it's going to be really tough the second time. So you want to get up this hill well the first time, but you don't want to kill yourself getting up it, because you got to come up it again the second time. That's a lot tougher. We're a lot farther along in the race. This is a great example of what makes this course wonderful, though. You go from dirt to grass to dirt to grass and back for it. Everything a cross-country course should be, all in this part of the course right here. What goes up must come down, and we're on the steep part of the course. Now, you see cars coming down here because this is a busy road. It'll be busy with runners during the national championship race, and they fly down this hill. Now, this is where the skill of downhill running really makes a difference. We've seen some kids open up as much as 30 or 40 yards just on this one downhill part of the course because they know how to run downhill well. When you get to this on the first half of the course, it's pretty wide open, but people stay together. Second half of the course, if you're in the lead here, it is let it all go and fly down that hill, open up as much as you can, because when you make it to the bottom of this hill, you've got less than 600 meters to go to be in the national champion. Here we are at the finish line. Now, it's 150 yards, a straight shot from when you make that last right turn from there to the finish line. You can't see the finish line itself because of the hill. Now, you've got to crest that hill. You know, though, you're at the finish line. The crowds are just huge right here. And then when you get over that little crest and you start coming on this downhill, the crowd gets even larger. People are screaming. You can't even hear yourself think, but you know, right here is the banner. Right here is the finish line. You cross it, you know that you are the Foot Locker national champion.